Twin Turbo Vise jaw production has been going well. Thanks to my son for occasionally helping catch boards off the back of the outfeed table so that I can really get the most out of my power feeder. Much appreciated. I've been trying, of course, to pick through lumberyard stacks carefully to avoid boards that have flaws resulting in jaws that are not quite up to snuff for customers. But I do have two that don't quite clear that hurdle. They aren't that bad, and it just so happens that I have a need for two Twin Turbo Vise builds, both of which involve building up both a front and back jaw in such a way that can be mounted to a bench regardless of how thick it is, and still be flush with the top and work like they're supposed to. The first of these is for a trip to the Catskill Mountain Maker Camp. I decided pretty late in the game that I was going to attend this event, and I decided even later that I needed to bring a vise with me. And with everything else going on, and all the jaws that I need to make, and back orders on dog tops, which I'm caught up by now, by the way, I didn't even start this build until 12:30 in the morning on the day of my 6 a.m. flight. Now, sleep deprived and under serious time pressure is not a recipe for extra high safety standards in the workshop, but I think I did pretty well. And coming off a nice relaxed summer, I'm finding that I have a lot of appetite to tackle a ton of projects and work really hard. I'm sure I'll get burnt out again and need to take a break, but for now I'm going with it. I didn't have any specific goal for this vise at the event other than to not come back with it one way or another. If you aren't familiar with Catskill Mountain Maker Camp, this event has a ton of demonstrations and hands-on opportunities to try out everything from powder coating to blacksmithing, leather working. They just have all kinds of stuff. It's a great event, so I figured there was a chance someone might have a setup that would benefit from the vise and I could attach it to their work surface. That's why I had to construct it in such a way that would be able to properly work regardless of the bench thickness, because I didn't know what I would find once I got there. I almost finished the vise. I threw it in a suitcase, paid a very expensive, overweight luggage fee from American Airlines, hence the not wanting to come back with it, and left for the event. All I had left to do was some finish sanding. And this turned out to work really well because I just sat at a picnic bench close to where people would gather at the camp, took my time with all the fiddly little edge sanding and getting everything perfect, removing saw marks and imperfections, and people would recognize the vise. It's more often that they recognize the vise than me. Stop by, chat about the vise, try it out. It was really fun. It was a good discussion. And right as I was finishing it up, somebody offered to pay me cash for it, so I took it, and mission complete and not bringing it home. So I did that. It worked out well. I didn't really find a good place to mount it anyway. It didn't really look all that hard. Everybody seemed to be pretty well set up, and I didn't even actually ask anyone. So I'll definitely be back at the event again next year, and I would highly recommend it, despite some of the odd people that you might run into. I might bring a few more vices next time. The Canadian crowd I talked to sure seemed to like that idea to avoid shipping costs. The second vise build was thankfully done under a lot less time pressure, and I'm a bit happier with the dimensions and some of the smaller choices I made around how things were mounted together than on the first build. This vise is headed to someone who didn't ask for it and isn't expecting it. That's a bit of a presumptuous move, so I'm not going to compound that by telling you who they are, but I will say that there was a stretch of time when their videos played a very important role in setting me on my current path. Before I published my drawer joint cutting blade video, which was the precursor to Rockler licensing it from me and making the Miterfold dado set, I was sitting on the idea, not exactly sure how to proceed. And for whatever reason, those videos gave me the shot of confidence I needed to get going. I also learned a very important lesson that the content I was consuming on a regular basis really affected how I was spending my time and pursuing my life. As I sit here writing this script for the words you're hearing, I'm thinking that I could do a bit better executing that these days. There's too much algorithms serving me content that robot brains think will hook me. But enough on that. Even if an algorithm brought you to this video, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. If the target of my unsolicited Twin Turbo Vise shipment happens to be watching this video, the vise can be installed by butting the back of the back jaw against whatever work surface you want it on, and countersinking holes for flathead screws to hold it in place. If you stop there, it'll probably wobble a little bit right at that seam between the bench and the vise. So I included some braces that can be screwed to the underside of the bench or table, and then also to the back end of the board that fixes the screw mounts in place. Once that's done, it should be really solid, just as solid as bolting it right to the underside of a solid wood bench. And the thickness of your bench shouldn't matter. So do what you want with it. Thanks everyone for watching.